Welcome into Tailgate Thursday for week number 8 of the 2024 college football season. My name is David Morrison from the Ball Society, here to preview the upcoming college football games featuring our Vols, the SEC, and games across the nation when we begin with our beloved Tennessee Volunteers. The third Saturday in October is upon us. Neyland Stadium is the site this Saturday for a 3:30 game on ABC, as the number 7 Alabama Crimson Tide come into town to take on the number 11 Tennessee Volunteers. Both teams coming off close wins this past Saturday. For Alabama, they had to fight off a scrappy bunch from Columbia. The South Carolina Gamecocks picked up the win last Saturday. Meanwhile, for Tennessee, an overtime victory over the Florida Gators. It's a big-time matchup here, and also a playoff eliminator game. Because after today, or after Saturday night, I should say, somebody will be 5-2 at the end of the night, and their playoff hopes will be out the door. But, you know, it is a rival game and also bragging rights for the next 365 days to be exact. Last time Alabama came to Knoxville 2 years ago, Tennessee pulled off a huge win. And the Vol fans stormed the field and tore the goalpost down, and we all know the story very well. So now we're kind of back to the same scene from 2 years ago. We'll see what happens. It's the Tide and the Vols Saturday, 3:30 ABC. Across the SEC here, noon on ESPN, the Auburn Tigers heading to Como to take on number 19 Missouri. Auburn has just had a awful season. Quarterback play, lack of confidence with head coach Hugh Freeze. It's just not been the season they have looked forward to. And now they got to go on the road to take on a Missouri Tiger team coming off a win last Saturday at UMass. Kind of a weird non-conference game, especially on the road. But they were 5-1, kind of like a lot of teams we're going to preview here in the SEC that are 5-1. It's a Tiger matchup here between Auburn and Missouri. We'll see what happens Saturday noon on ESPN. 12:45 SEC Network. We head to Norman, South Carolina. We just mentioned them a minute ago. Took a loss to Alabama. Now they got to head on the road to take on Oklahoma, coming off a blowout loss to Texas in the Red River Shootout. This is two teams that desperately need a win. We saw Lenore Sellers coming back in the fold for South Carolina at quarterback. And, of course, Oklahoma dealing with a new quarterback in themselves with Michael Hawkins. Of course, this will be his third straight game he's played. We'll see what happens. Like I said, two teams that desperately need a win, especially for Oklahoma, too. We'll see what happens. Saturday, 12:45 SEC Network. 4:15 on the SEC Network. We head to Stark Vegas. Number 14, Texas A&M, taking on the Mississippi State Bulldogs. For Texas A&M, 5-1, feeling very comfortable right now. Coming off the highs of that win against Missouri where they blew them out in their place. Now they go on the road, taking on Mississippi State. We know what kind of season Mississippi State has had, but, Mississippi State has picked up some wins at home against Texas A&M in more recent years. I know it's definitely during the Mike Leach era, but, crazy things have happened. We'll see what happens. Texas A&M a big favorite in this game against Mississippi State. All right, let's go to the primetime games in the SEC. Number 8, LSU, heading to Fayetteville to take on the 4-2 Arkansas Razorbacks, 7 o'clock ESPN. LSU, overtime, big win against Ole Miss. That was a great game last Saturday at Death Valley. Now they got to go to Fayetteville. Is LSU going to kind of fall victim the same way Tennessee did? Losing on the road at Arkansas, or can they pull it out? Meanwhile, for the Razorbacks, they had the bye last week, kind of riding the high off the win over Tennessee. We shall see what happens as we have the battle for the Golden Boot between LSU and Arkansas. 7:30 ABC, the game of the week. Number 5, Georgia. Number 1, Texas. 7:30 ABC. Looked like 2-3 weeks ago this was possibly going to be a number 1 versus number 2 matchup, but Georgia does have the loss against Alabama, but still a top 5 showdown. A lot of folks are going to be tuning into this game. How good is Texas? We saw Texas win at Michigan. We saw, them playing some SEC competition, defeated Oklahoma. Now this is their real first big true test in SEC play, taking on the team that's kind of been the face of the SEC the last few years in the Georgia Bulldogs. It's going to be a hostile environment at Darrell K. Royal Stadium. For Georgia, continuing this road gauntlet that they facing this year. Already went through Alabama, which ended in the loss. This is another big road game here. They still got to go to Ole Miss later on. We'll see what happens. Georgia taking on Texas. I'm excited about this one. 7:45 SEC Network. Couple of 3-3 teams, the Kentucky Wildcats and the Florida Gators, both coming off losses to teams from the Volunteer State last Saturday. Kentucky losing to Vanderbilt in their game last Saturday, and then meanwhile Florida losing on the road at Tennessee in overtime. A couple teams that's just looking for some sort of a direction. It feels like, to me, Kentucky's in obviously a better position-wise in Florida despite the record, but just a lot of inconsistency on this Wildcats team. And meanwhile for Florida, how much is left in the tank with the deflating loss to Tennessee and the Billy Napier situation we shall see coming up this Saturday night. All right, let's go across the nation and we will get you right out of here. ACC action, 12 o'clock ABC, number 6 Miami taking on the Louisville Cardinals. Last time we saw Miami, they ended up pulling a come-from-behind win at California. Now they go to a place where they have dropped a game or two here. The Louisville Cardinals at Cardinals Stadium. Cam Ward and the Miami Hurricanes, like I said, having a great season, but, had the scare with Virginia Tech at home on that Friday night. They had the scare with Cal. Is this the game where Miami slips, or do they continue their winning ways? We shall find out. For Louisville, a top 25 team for most of the season, now have slipped out. A win against Miami definitely will boost them back in the top 25. We shall see. Noon on Fox, the undefeated Indiana Hoosiers. No, we're not talking basketball here. Number 16 in the nation, the football team, led by first-year head coach Kurt Synergy. They will take on the Nebraska Cornhuskers, having a great season themselves under Matt Rule in his second season. They're 5-1 on the year. This is a noon game on Fox. Expect kind of a typical Big Ten game, probably low scoring. We'll see what happens in this one. A couple surprise teams in college football this year, especially Indiana. 3:30 on CBS. We had a Champaign top 25 battle in the Big Ten. Number 24 Michigan taking on the number 22 Illinois Fighting Illini. We mentioned in a previous video on Tailgate Thursday, Illinois secondary and causing turnovers. And now with Michigan and their quarterback situation, be quite interesting to see if Illinois can pull this upset win. And meanwhile, for Sherman Moore and the Wolverines, a must-win game in the Big Ten, especially a Big Ten that is stacked this year with the addition of the West Coast teams of Oregon and Washington and the two LA schools, USC and UCLA. Big-time matchup right there. And finally, we're going to highlight the two military schools that are in the top 25 this week. Number 23 Army, 6-0 on the year. They're at home at Mikey Stadium in West Point as they welcome in East Carolina. This is a noon game on ESPN2. Happy for the Black Knights. Happy for our service members. Having a great season. And, of course, obviously defending our country as well. Doing a fantastic job this season. Wish them luck in their game against East Carolina. And then the Navy Midshipmen, just right behind them, 2 spots back. 5-0 on the year. They're number 25 in the country. The 3:30 game on the CBS Sports Network in Annapolis as they welcome in the Charlotte 49ers. So And Navy's got a big game coming up next week as they will take on Notre Dame. I believe that's a neutral site game, and we'll definitely preview that one on Tailgate Thursday next week. But want to give a shout out to the Army Black Knights and the Navy Midshipmen, both in the top 25. And hey, we could have an undefeated Army-Navy game by December. You never know what happens in college football. All right, that's going to wrap it up for Tailgate Thursday. Enjoy the college football action, everyone, and we'll talk to you right back here next week. Until next time, this is David Morrison for Tailgate